to the Red Dirt Road podcast. I'm your host, Marshall Farnsworth, here with Alex Breitenbach. How's it going?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I finally have everything squared away in terms of my room move-in. They're finally getting surveillance testing going tomorrow, so that'll be interesting to see how that works at my college. So,
Surveillance testing.
Oh yeah, surveillance testing. What that is basically what that is every week you go twice a week and you get a COVID test. In addition to getting those two COVID tests, you also have to fill out this form every single day that determines whether or not you're allowed to go to campus or not. And if you are, then you can go to classes in person. If not, then you have to go to Zoom and go online.
Wow. That's a lot of COVID tests. Two a week?
2 a week for every undergraduate student, yes.
I have not gotten it, and I hope that I don't have to.
Yeah,
I haven't been sick yet.
Yeah.
So we are doing a different kind of podcast today. We're doing like 2 song reviews in one, a kind of a song comparison, because I felt like it was kind of appropriate. Sacred Ground by Kix Brooks, and then Sacred Ground by McBride The Ride. So this was originally released in 1989 by Kix Brooks, and obviously was released on his self-titled album. But it's 2:51 in length. It says Sacred Ground is a country music song co-written and originally recorded by American country music singer Kix Brooks prior to his joining in Brooks and Dunn with Ronnie Dunn. The Brooks version was issued in 1989 as a single, and like I said, was included on his 1999 self-titled debut album. It was recorded 3 years later by American country music band McBride The Ride, released in 1992. That version would become the group's highest charting hit, reaching a peak of number 2 on the U.S. Billboard Hot Country Singles and Tracks, which I believe it was only number 2 to Achy Breaky Heart by
Billy Ray.
So a little
Billy Ray, all right.
Billy Ray getting the best of McBride The Ride.
Wow, that's pretty cool, actually.
So the Kix Brooks version, so Sacred Ground, it's a mid-tempo ballad centralizing a male narrator who is talking to another man with whom it is implied that his wife had an emotional and possibly physical affair with. In the first verse, the singer tells of how he married at an early age and had to work various jobs to sustain his family. In the second verse, he expresses his intention to reconcile with his wife and asks the other man to not interfere, and possibly out of concern that his wife may continue the affair, or at least not discourage his continued attention. He defends his relationship with his wife in the chorus, saying, quote, "We were joined in the eyes of the Lord, in the eyes of our hometown. Why don't you leave her alone? You're treading on sacred ground." And in the Brooks version, it was the final single, I believe, of his debut album. It reached a peak of number 87 on the Hot Country chart. It was his last solo release or his last single solo release before he joined Brooks and Dunn, and it was his last charted solo single until New to This Town in 2012. So any other takes on the Kix Brooks version?
I really liked this song. I mean, it's obvious to see why this is his number. This is the one big hit off of this album, and it's plain to see why. I really did like the ballad style feel, and it's not what is very interesting is the title is very deceptive, because this is honestly not at all what I originally thought that this song was going to be about. I had no idea that it was talking about an affair. I had to listen to it twice, because that was I just thought it was gonna be a classic love song. No, this is like kind of the anti-love song. Like, it's got a bit of love, sort of romantic vibes to it, but it also has a little bit of a darker side, because you're talking about the affair. You say, like, you're treading on sacred ground. Like, please don't take my significant other, basically. And I happen to really like this song, this version. This was a well done song, comparative to the story of my life and a couple of the other bad ones. This is definitely what hammers home the album. I'm surprised that it's in the middle of the album and not like the ending track, because you would think that, given how they put everything into this, essentially, that it would have been the ending track, but it's not. You still have more to go, a couple more songs left on the album, so it's like a hidden gem, like a deep track in the middle of the cut there, and I like it. I really did like it.
I was not quite as impressed with it as I thought it would be. I mean, it's got good writing. It's got a good, they obviously were able to make it with McBride The Ride into a good song. I don't think it's really the best song in the album. And actually, so I did a little looking at the statistics a little bit. I got the desktop version of Spotify, and you can actually see the individual plays for each song. And this song was not the most popular song off the album, or at least not on
Really?
Spotify.
Mm.
So, and I was interested. It's kind of interesting. There's only 3 songs left that we're going to talk about from the album, and those 3 songs include the most popular song overall. Not gonna say which yet, and the least popular song overall from the album, and the
What?
most popular song recently. So overall and recently. Yep.
That's crazy that you did some numbers crunching there. That's interesting.
The
I mean,
most popular song, which is it's a close second overall that we've covered so far, is "Baby When Your Heart Breaks Down." That's a very close second,
yeah,
recently and overall, which I thought was a pretty good song. But this one, it was not really successful as far as
as far
on
as
Spotify
Spotify
now.
plays, yeah,
Yeah,
Spotify plays do tell a lot about music, like, because it's very interesting. The market is now competing for streams, instead of you're no longer competing for album sales, or single disc sales or vinyl. You're competing for streams on Spotify, and I think, like, even then, you'd be surprised that, like, people. Gee, I'm curious to know how many physical plays this song had, and
I don't
that's
remember the actual number, but it
uh,
was somewhere around. I think it was around 20,000. It did not age very well. I guess this song.
yeah, that's total plays. Like,
Yeah,
that's not even like per month or per year. Like, some of them have,
total
like,
place.
on the little, if you look at the number of plays, like, it'll say how many per month or how many per day. Like, if this thing only has 20,000 total plays, it's not that popular.
No,
Uh, but on a spectrum, the album itself wasn't very popular. So, I mean, I would think that that is to be expected. But I'm surprised, that this is the most. This was the highest selling single for Kix Brooks, like, off this. This was the hit single off the album, and um, and they made an amazing cover of it, and that did really well. Only got beat by Billy Ray Cyrus, but I'm very surprised. You're right; it did not age well, because nobody wants to listen to it now.
yeah. There was only one single off this album that charted better. And that was "Baby When Your Heart Breaks Down," was number 73. But I think that was released in 83. So I don't know when that peaked, but
Mhm.
now so the McBride and the Ride version, like I said, it was released in '92, March of '92. It was the lead-off single for the band's second album, titled "Sacred Ground." Peaked at number 92. It was the band's highest charting single, and they have a music video for it, directed by Bill Young, premiered in early '92, and it at the end of '92, the year-end chart had it at number 44 in the U.S. So there you go. But
interesting how, well, you know what that reminds me of? I mean, one of the songs that I was very disappointed that I found out was not even written by Rascal Flatts is God Bless the Broken Road, because that's one of my favorite songs by Rascal Flatts. But if you look up, what is very interesting about that song in particular, if you look up who wrote it and you listen to their version, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And I mean, it just proves to you that another artist taking somebody else's song and performing it in their own way can make it a super smash hit, can make it so much better. Like that just proves that works. Like, because it's just, that was just very interesting to see. And I think that in spite of the fact that I really did like the Kix Brooks version, like it's interesting that his version didn't do too well, but theirs did. And sometimes that happens. Like if they bought the song from them and they recorded it their own way or did something to it, sometimes that's all you need.
I personally did not like the song. I think it was well written. I don't think overall as a song it did very well. I think the McBride and the Ride version definitely had just more of the upbeat and just came together a lot better as a song. I think you find that in these other Kix Brooks songs, it's very similar like that. You have the Kix Brooks style, but they were not really complete without the Ronnie Dunn. It needed a little something extra.
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting to see this song if Brooks and Dunn were to play it. I wonder if that would have been even better. I don't know.
I think that honestly, if you take this album overall and you add Ronnie Dunn to it and a little bit of Ronnie Dunn's writing and just his influence in general, I think would make this album a lot better. I think that they would definitely do a lot better with some of these songs, especially with the upbeat ones, because that in spite of it being Kix Brooks's sound, some of them just felt like you said, a lot of the songs on this album felt incomplete or lacked some sort of a climax, or in some cases like The River and Story of My Life just kind of lacked any sort of influence or creative character whatsoever. But I would say that Ronnie Dunn would make this album a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, this Sacred Ground Kix Brooks version it reminds me of a demo of a song. It reminds me of like, all right, here's the song. Now we need a little bit more production behind it.
Yeah.
Or you could have
a demo tape.
You could have went full on acoustic, but it's not acoustic. It's just, it seems like it needs a little more production, a little more something.
Yeah.
And to me it's like it's too repetitive with the rest of the songs of the album. There seems like there's so many of these types of songs. It comes right after The Story of My Life, which is another sad song.
Yeah.
You got There's a Telephone Ringing. You have The River, which isn't really like a sad song, but it's also kind of slow and things like that. And a lot of songs about women, and some of them are not very happy. So I felt like I'm kind of getting tired of these types of songs on here.
Well, yeah, honestly. Well, there's one thing that I will say, and I would never in a million years buy this song on vinyl, and buy this album. And the only reason for that, now I'm not saying I don't like all of the songs. Like there are some songs that I really like, but the order in which these songs are listed on this album is absolutely atrocious. I think that it gets boring. It gets really boring. Like just listening to some of these songs in the order that they're in. And I don't think that is a really, like, again, to make a good album is not necessarily about having good music, but it's also good mixing, good production, good, like, knowing where, when, and where to put the songs so they flow in a good order. And, there's a whole science behind that too.
These last two, I don't think should have been right by each other. They're just,
oh, no.
they're too similar.
No, but like, why? Well, my question is, why would you put the best hit of the album right in the middle of it? It's literally right in the middle of it. It's deep in the cut. You're to a point where you're halfway through one or two sides, and it's right after The Story of My Life, which has to be the worst track on this album.
One of the worst songs ever.
Yeah, honestly. Like, I mean, I'm sorry to Kix Brooks if you ever dig this up years from now, and or perhaps more sooner rather than later. And
I'm sure that's his song that he holds on to.
Yeah. Story of My Life, yeah.
Oh my God. All right, how did that song get brought up again?
Yeah, exactly.
Song. All right. The next song off the album, A Little Magic on My Mind, the least popular overall, only 8,000, just below The River at 9,000.
All right.
I'm surprised Story of My Life a little higher. I don't know. Maybe it had that people were searching Story of My Life. Maybe they got it confused with something else.
Well, yeah.
A Little Magic on My Mind.
That really may have been, well, that's a very interesting observation, because some people, a play on Spotify does not actually count. Like, it's not that you have to listen to the whole song for it to count as a play. You just have to click on it, and it just has to, like, say that it's starting. So my thought of it is, if somebody is searching, like, Story of My Life by, like, Social Distortion or by One Direction or something like that, and then this just happened to play directly after, and then maybe that's the dead cat bounce that you get from there. I
don't know. We shall see. So I think that's about it for this Sacred Ground comparison. You got more Kix Brooks coming next. I think A Little Magic on My Mind is the least popular one off the album. That'll probably be next. We'll try to get through that.
Yep.
All right. Until next time.